All right, Newport Richey, Florida, the under $300,000 price unicorn in a market where everything else seems unaffordable. And in 2026, prices are climbing and bidding wars are occurring. I'm Jimmy B, and this is Annie O with LPT Realty. And whether you're a first time home buyer trying to actually afford a home in Florida, or if you're a seller sitting on a property in Newport Richey, this one is for you. Here's the April 2026 numbers. No nonsense, real talk with Jimmy B and Annie O.
All right. So first thing we're going to talk about is the amount of sales that we had. For the month of April, we had 203 sales, which is still basically flat from last year. So same amount of sales year over year. But here's the kicker. It's the highest volume amount of sales in all of Pasco County. So plenty of homes are trading hands. So if you're a buyer, this is great. Steady volume equals real choice. The good ones still move fast though, so you got to be careful of that. Now, if you're a seller, 200 plus sales a month means that there is a steady buyer pool. So your house will sell with the right prep and at the right price,
Interesting.
right?
Some of these
You got
numbers are
options.
really throwing me though here though. So if you're a buyer, this one's really interesting. So now we're going to talk about the median sales price, okay? So last year in April it was 267,500. This year in April, that number has significantly climbed almost by 12% to 298,000. So in a market where we're seeing prices drop in certain areas, Newport Richey is not one of them. So can you get a property under 300K? You can, and it's doable, but that number is literally going up every single moment. So if you're a buyer, it's really your last affordable shot. The longer you wait, then the less or the more competition you're going to have, and prices are just going to continue to climb. If you're a seller and you bought 5 years ago, keyword a little over 5 years ago, so pre COVID market, before the prices were inflated, you might be sitting on a pretty amount of equity. So this is truly last or one of the last affordable places in Tampa Bay to buy a home, but the demand is really catching up with it, and there's a lot of development going on in the area.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The new construction, everything we've been seeing out there for sure. So we talked about the pricing, what's been going up. We talked about the amount of sales. Next up, how many new listings are coming on the market? Because you want to know exactly how much choice do you have. So for the month of April, we had 302 new listings on the market. But here's a kicker: that's actually down 11% versus last year, the same time. So we have less inventory, plus our demands and how many sales are been staying steady, which means there's upward pressure on price, which Jimmy B just explained to you.
Yeah, that's why the prices are going up.
Exactly. So this isn't a market where waiting is going to help you. So just FYI on that one. And if you're a seller in May, this is the time you want to move. You want to have your house on the market now in May. You don't want to be waiting until August. So buyer, if every quarter that you delay means that the affordability floor for you keeps going up. So I'm just putting that out there. Now, sellers, you want to list before the summer because the flooding and of more inventory as word gets out about how busy it is going to just start, giving you more and more competition on the market, which you don't want. So shrinking supply plus strong demand equals what the price appreciation recipe is.
Yeah, and then speaking of the price appreciation, and really interesting stat that blew my mind when I was going through these numbers, Annie, was the list to sell ratio. So what a home is actually listed for versus what it actually sells for. And last year in April, it was a little below 95%. So buyers were getting about 5% off ish on average of list price if it was priced fairly, which is the key. This April, it's over 100%. It's 100.8%. So that means that houses, if they're priced correctly, are pretty much getting into bidding wars and prices are going up over list. A year ago, this was a complete buyer's market. That leverage has completely flipped. So for buyers, no more submitting offers 50K off list price. You have to bring a real offer with a proof of funds and a strong pre-approval, and you got to put your best foot forward. Otherwise, you are not going to get the house. I've actually personally seen this happen with some of
Yep.
the agents that we coach and mentor, and even for myself. So these numbers are real. Sellers, fair pricing will win you a multiple offer situation. Don't get cute. Make sure you price it correctly. And Annie O is going to go over a stat next on why. So, what? The biggest unreported story here: buyer's market became a seller's market wearing affordable clothes literally overnight, but within the last year.
Yeah. So the cute stat James was talking about, and I know personally he was talking about me, but I'll just fill you in on the stat regardless.
Of course. You're not a
Is
stat, though.
that's right. I am not a stat.
You're not just a number.
I'm your number one.
That's right.
All right. So the stat that we're going to be talking about is the amount of sellers who actually went on the market and weren't able to actually get to the closing table. And that's not the place we want you to be, which is why we want to talk about this. So for the month of April, there was 38 homes that were on the market that weren't able to sell. That is not a great number, and it's actually up a little bit from April of 2025. So even though this market is amazingly hot, we have less inventory, prices are going through the roof, you can still mess it up on the pricing. Buyers are not dumb. They see what's happening in the market. All this information is public knowledge. So you have to make sure that you are playing the game with them as well. 90 plus days of sitting in the new Port Richey because of how quickly everything's been moving means that buyers are going to pay attention and start wondering what's wrong with your house. And then at the end of the day, if you're a buyer, the longer a house sits, that equals more negotiation on your side. As a seller, you really got to pay attention to price. We want value driven buyer pool, and they will walk if your house is overpriced.
So, really, just to tie what I just said and what she said together, is although we talked about prices going up and the sell lister ratio is up, which in a seller's mind, they're probably going to think, oh, well, I can just list it for whatever I want.
Right, right.
No. Okay. If you list it fairly, you're going to get that 100+% list to sell, price that you want. But as she just mentioned, if you list it too high and you're like, oh, I'll just see what offers I get, that's where you're running into trouble. You're chasing the market down and your listing may expire. So the last stat we're going to talk about here is the average days on market. Okay. And this all ties together. So it was 7 days faster than it was last April. Last April, it was 67 days on market average. Now it's down to 60. But that's not with every house. That's just the average of the whole New Port Richey area. So you have about 2 months on average, but homes that are priced right are selling in less than 30 days. So there's a gap here. So people who are putting their homes on the market for the right price, they're selling under 30 days. People who are chasing the market down are selling in an average of 60+ days, which is why that average overall is 60. So if you're a buyer and you find a clean, fair price home, you need to move on it immediately. If you're a seller, you need to stage it right, you need to price it right, and you'll be under contract more than likely in under 3 weeks. Faster sales, higher prices, over asking offers equals a tightening market.
Yeah, you got it. So let's recap real quick about New Port Richey. It's one of the last affordable footholds in the Tampa Bay area. Prices are climbing fast though. So buyers, there are bidding wars, and sellers, if you are well priced, you're going to be winning. If you're a first time home buyer though, this is your shot, and that door is closing the longer you wait. So homeowners, you have equity sitting there. You probably have a little more than you realize. So if you want a real conversation about anything that we just discussed, you should reach out to Jimmy B or myself, Annie O, the realtors you need to know. See ya.